The quiet hum of the Vokrel observation array was a sound most crew members tuned out after their first week aboard. But today it screamed. High-frequency alerts blared from every console in the sensor chamber, as multicolored warnings blinked in rhythmic chaos. For a species that prided itself on emotional composure, the Valerians were panicking, and for good reason. "Impossible!" hissed Science Officer Treval, his 4 eyes wide and unblinking as data flooded across his display. "That cannot be a gravitational signature. It's folding in and out of phase." "Is it a rogue starship?" asked Commander Lrel, pushing off from the floor with a clawed foot to hover beside him in microgravity. Her carapace gleamed under the flickering red lights of emergency mode. "No Council ship has that mass density. Or that movement pattern." Treval rotated the display to give her full access. The massive object they detected had entered real space near the outer ring of Sector Theta 947, a dead zone. A place no intelligent civilization ever willingly went. Nothing was out there. That was the point. "Look at the energy dispersal," Treval murmured. "Every known propulsion model we've documented, ion, antimatter, gravitic distortion, none apply. And it's fast. Fast like it doesn't care that space has rules." Lrel stiffened. "You're saying it's not from the Council?" "I'm saying," Treval replied, turning all 4 of his eyes to her, "it might be human." Lrel didn't answer right away. Neither did anyone else in the room. Because no one wanted to admit that humans, the long-ignored ferals from the spiral arm, might have finally crawled out of their gravity wells with teeth bared. The Valerians were not alone in the array. Several species of the Galactic Council were represented on the station, though most treated their positions more as diplomatic duties than anything requiring actual vigilance. So when the object began transmitting, in old Earth-based Morse code, of all things, only one being on the entire array could even begin to translate it. Sergeant Jackson, Jax, Mahoney had been drinking stale synth coffee when the alarms hit. He was the lone human liaison, more a formality than necessity, stationed aboard as a gesture of goodwill. Humanity, after all, wasn't technically a member of the Galactic Council. But they played nice, mostly. "Move!" Jax barked, shoving past the confused Crexian tech. "Is this what tripped your alerts?" Treval nodded without speaking, pointing toward the signal overlay. The moment Jax saw it, he blinked. Then laughed. "You've got to be kidding me." He tapped a few keys and began translating aloud. "This is UNSC. Vengeance. Halt. Scans. Or. Be. Interpreted. As. Hostile. Action." Treval twitched. "Did it just threaten us?" "No," Jax said, already pulling up the orbital schematics. "It warned you. That's polite. Threats come later." The room was silent. Not even the low hum of equipment seemed to dare intrude. "UNSC?" Lrel asked. "Is that a military organization?" "United Nations Space Command," Jax muttered, his jaw tight. "But that doesn't make sense. The Vengeance was a prototype. A stealth-capable dreadnought. It was scrapped 20 years ago. I saw the reports. And yet," Treval said, voice icy, "it is here. And it has noticed us." The sensors pulsed again. Another signal arrived, but this one was different, encoded with multiple frequency layers, some even riding subspace harmonics the Valerian sensors weren't designed to catch. Only the human translation protocol could partially read it. "Repeat, this is Captain Alina Graves of the UNSC Vengeance. You are operating unauthorized surveillance in classified Terran expansion territory. Power down and prepare for boarding. Failure to comply will be considered an act of war." Everyone in the room turned to Jax. He sighed. "That ship was never supposed to exist. The Council ordered it dismantled after we signed the Neutrality Accord. But if Graves is alive, if the Vengeance exists, then something very big is happening back home. And I'm guessing no one here got the memo." The ripple of panic was well disguised. Valerians were nothing if not disciplined, but the air was suddenly heavier. She cannot do this, Rel said. This is council-regulated space. Jax snorted. Tell that to Graves. Assuming you survive long enough to get a message out. Treval leaned in. If that ship's weapons systems match the theoretical projections from your own military archives, it could wipe this station from existence before we finished our first transmission. Which means, Jax said, his voice low and calm, you better start listening. Because humanity might have sent vengeance as a message, and I don't think you want to misread it. Across the solar span, deep within the black, the vengeance hovered like a phantom. No heat signature. No active emissions. Its black hull was coated in radar-absorbent material and experimental light-bending alloy, making it invisible to most forms of detection, unless it wanted to be seen. The only visible sign of its presence was the field distortion around it, where light itself bent oddly, and space-time felt like it was humming off-key. Inside, Captain Alina Graves stood at the helm, arms crossed. Have they responded? She asked. Her comms officers shook their head. Still scanning us. No transmission reply. They're either stupid, panicked, or diplomatic types trying to ask permission from 17 levels of bureaucracy before breathing. Graves chuckled. So panicked. She turned to her AI assistant. Talos, show me the sensor logs from the Valerian array. A holographic overlay appeared instantly, showing the array station's external scans, broadcast pings, and targeting telemetry. They pinged our primary engine nacelles 12 minutes ago, Talos said. Then refocused on the weapon bays. I have flagged this as aggressive intelligence gathering. Council rats, Graves muttered. Always poking until something bites. Then she paused, staring at a line of text from the station. Wait, we've got a human aboard that station. Talos nodded. Liaison Officer. Sergeant Jax Mahoney. Formerly 10th Recon. Assigned under the Intercultural Cooperation Initiative. Graves smiled. Oh, I know that guy. Tough as nails. Think he'll talk them down? Probability, 63%. Good, she said. Then after a beat. Prep weapons anyway. Back at the array, the Council's emergency diplomats had just started to arrive, via holo, of course. Tall, slender, self-important figures who began arguing protocol before they even asked what was going on. The only one not speaking was Jax. He was busy sending a private, encrypted pulse back toward the Vengeance. Message received. You sure you want to play this card? The reply came seconds later. Not a card. Just the beginning. Stay out of the line of fire. Jax closed his eyes and muttered. Oh, this is gonna be fun. Treval was now pacing, an odd sight for a species that preferred stillness. The ship is powering weapons capacitors. Energy buildup in forward particle arrays is rising. If it fires at us, it won't fire, Jax said. How do you know? Because if it wanted you dead, you already would be. Rel's claws clicked on the console. Then what does it want? Respect, Jax replied. The kind Earth never got from this council. Maybe now we're done asking. Far beyond the council's prepared talking points, deeper than their peace accords and ancient treaties, something terrible had stirred. And the galaxy was about to learn that first contact with a human warship wasn't a diplomatic event. It was a warning. There were 3 things the Valnari Empire never expected to encounter on its first exploratory incursion into Sector R9. First, that it would be completely uncharted despite being so close to multiple known systems. Second, that a system filled with what looked like pre-industrial planets had a dark energy signature stronger than a collapsed star. And third, that the first warship they detected in the region, an angular, silent, black-mad behemoth, had no known origin, no registry, and worst of all, no heat signature. Captain SLYRR of the Valnari vessel Telmec Vern squinted at the monitor, mandibles clicking in something between confusion and concern. Scan that again. Your readings are incorrect, he ordered, his voice low and raspy through his translator node. The sensor technician, a younger blue-shelled Mantari named Krethax, swallowed hard. Captain, I've scanned it 4 times. The vessel is absorbing our scans. All of them. Active, passive, low frequency, gravimetric, even psychic probes. It's not just cloaked, sir. It's hungry. Ships don't get hungry, the captain replied with a huff, tapping the command chair's armrest. Unless they're organic, and that thing isn't grown. That's steel and plating. It's not like any plating I've seen, Krethax murmured. It has zero reflection. Zero noise. No internal energy fluctuations. It's like a dead rock, except it's moving. Slowly. Toward us. SLYRR stood from his seat, all 6 legs unfolding in one fluid motion. His secondary eyes shifted focus to the tactical display, where the ship, marked only as Unknown Contact Alpha, drifted ever closer across a region of dead space. Any hails? We've broadcasted in 32 languages and dialects. No reply. Proximity? The captain barked. 3,000 kilometers and closing. Still no active signals. No weapons systems detected. SLYRR leaned forward. Then fire a warning shot. Sir? You heard me. We are a Royal Imperial ship, scouting this sector on behalf of the Crown Worlds. If this thing is alive and intelligent, it needs to understand we don't respond well to intimidation. The weapons officer chirped in acknowledgement, and launched a warning plasma burst just off the mystery ship's bow. The bolt screamed through vacuum, lighting up the nothingness like a comet. For a moment, the enemy ship didn't react. Then, every light aboard the Telmec Verne went out. Not dimmed. Not overloaded. Extinguished. The bridge went black. Emergency lighting flickered. Consoles stuttered. And one by one, the crew began shouting over each other as gravity fluctuated and temperature dropped like a stone. Shields are down. No, offline. We've lost engine control. Restarting NAV core. My eyes, something's in my... A low sound, like a metallic whale's moan, vibrated through the hull. It wasn't transmitted by speakers. It came through the metal. Bring visual back, the captain snapped. When the screen rebooted, the black ship was no longer a dot on their tactical display. It was front and center. Up close, it looked less like a ship and more like a floating fortress. Triangular hull, sharp ridges like knife blades, and strange glowing marks along its flanks that pulsed slowly like a heartbeat. Its exterior seemed to shimmer and flicker, as if reality around it couldn't fully decide how to interpret its presence. Is that a hull signature? Someone asked. The image zoomed in. Along the side of the black vessel, in stark white lettering, the words became legible. UNES Nightmare TDSI Class Earthguard Operations. Silence overtook the bridge. What is an Earthguard? SLYRR muttered. No one answered. Instead, a ping echoed through the comms. It was a reply. A human voice crackled through the speakers, distorted, deep, and slow, as if it hadn't spoken in a while. Unidentified ship. This sector is restricted Earth space. You have 5 seconds to leave before you are classified as hostile. They responded, Krethax said, almost in awe. The captain scoffed. One ship. One dead rock of a system. You think I fear? Time's up, the voice said. Without warning, the Telmec Verne was enveloped in a beam, not a traditional energy weapon, not kinetic force. It was gravitational. The crew screamed as the ship was pulled sideways, systems failing one after another. It was like being dragged through syrup made of black holes. Outside, a second vessel decloaked beside the Nightmare. Then a third. Then a fourth. One by one, human warships emerged from nothing, not through jump gates, not through warp. They just appeared. Captain, Krethax gasped, his claws trembling. They weren't on sensors because they were inside null space. We weren't seeing them because they weren't in this dimension. That's impossible, SLYRR hissed. Tell that to the 20 ships now surrounding us. The technician snapped. The comms lit up again. This time, a different human voice spoke, cool, calm, even bored. Valnari vessel, You have been identified as entering sovereign Earth-controlled territory without invitation. You are now under the jurisdiction of the Terran Defense and Suppression Initiative. Please deactivate your weapons and prepare for custody. Captain? The weapons officer shouted. Their ships are powering something. I don't recognize the energy readings. It's like time's breaking around them. The bridge lights flashed red. We're being boarded! Someone screamed. SCI-FI turned to fight, pulling out his ion pistol, but it was too late. A panel melted open and 3 humans walked in, not in armored suits, not with weapons drawn. Just walking. One of them was tall, wore dark gray fatigues, and had a short military beard. He raised a hand and looked directly at the captain. On behalf of Earth, you're under arrest for violating the most restricted zone in the galaxy. SCI-FI aimed his pistol. The human didn't flinch. Try it. Your ship already belongs to us. The pistol fizzled in the captain's hand, its power drained completely. How? SCI-FI growled. Do you know what Nightmare Class means? The human asked. It doesn't refer to what we feel. It refers to what you do. They cuffed the captain, took control of the ship, and towed it effortlessly back into the darkness from whence the human ships came. Back in Valnari space, High Command watched the last telemetry from the Telmec Verne disappear, swallowed by some kind of space-time fracture that didn't make scientific sense. Then every warship across the sector received the same message, simultaneously, across FTL comms, quantum relays, and even psychic channels. This region is under Earth Guard protection. Do not approach. This is your only warning. The Council of Crowns convened in panic. No species had ever sent a warning across all known channels like that, not even the precursors. Not even the gods. And the worst part? No one knew who Earthguard even was. Did we miss a war? One admiral asked. No, came the reply from a war historian draped in a robe of ancient bones. We missed something worse. We missed what humans became after the wars. The Ural command deck was no longer a place of pride and confidence. It was a tomb of panicked eyes, frantic claws dancing across control surfaces, and silent prayers whispered in the dark. Admiral Kashur stood frozen at the center, the blue light of the holomap casting stark shadows across his scaled face. The human warship wasn't just approaching. It was already there, within weapons range. And not a single Ural sensor had seen it arrive. It moved, hissed the tactical officer. The ghost, it shifted behind our flanking vessels. We didn't detect any thrust, any emissions. It just disappeared and reappeared. Kashur didn't blink. Couldn't. Not when the laws of physics were being torn apart before his eyes. Outside, 3 Ural battlecruisers turned their weapons toward the anomaly. The great curved spines of the Yorshak, Dantar, and Valexi began to glow as charged plasma gathered in their ventral cannons. This was their response to fear, brute force. And in that moment, the human warship responded. Not with weapons. Not yet. With words. A voice, calm accented, but unmistakably human, spoke through every comm channel on every Ural ship simultaneously. We have identified your fleet. You are trespassing in a conflict exclusion zone established under Earth Directive 904. Your warships have targeted a diplomatic vessel. This is considered an act of war. You have 5 seconds to disengage and retreat. Or we will take command. Not a threat. A fact. Kashur slammed a clawed fist onto the comm console. Ignore their bluff. Fire now. Burn them down before they vanish again. The Ural fleet didn't hesitate. 3 capital ships opened fire, plasma lances screaming across the void, converging on the still silhouette of the human vessel. The plasma hit. Or it should have. Instead, the beams phased through the space the human ship had occupied, and that was when the sensors broke. The warship's signature folded in on itself. Gravity spiked. Mass readings spiked. And then every scanner simply went blind. What remained in visual range was something utterly alien to Ural understanding. The ship flickered, stretched, multiplied into ghostly afterimages, and then struck. But not with cannons. The Yorshak simply imploded. A silent ripple of spatial inversion blinked the 1,000-meter-long cruiser out of existence. No fire, no debris. 1 second there, the next, void. Panic spread faster than orders. The Ural were apex tacticians born into war, but this wasn't war. This was something else. This was a being swatting flies. The Velexi fired a scatterbomb array in a desperate attempt to buy space. The human ship moved, a blur across dimensions, and reappeared behind the Ural fleet. Then came the next message. This is your second warning. Surrender control of your remaining vessels or be forcibly disarmed. Disarmed? Kashur spat. They erase ships like shadows. There will be nothing left to disarm. He turned toward the science officer, barked an order. Give me anything, composition, heat signature, propulsion trails. I don't care how absurd. How are they moving like this? The Ural scientist trembled. We believe their hull is phase adaptive. It's not metal, it's programmable matter. And their movement, it's not warp or slipstream. It's some kind of dimensional threading. We don't even know how to track it, let alone defend against it. The Admiral growled low in his throat. In an act of reckless defiance, he opened a direct channel to the human vessel. This is Admiral Kashur of the Ural Ascendancy. You violate sovereign space and destroy our ships without provocation. Identify yourselves. A pause. Then a simple reply. This is the UNS Omen. We are Earth's final deterrent. Kashur recoiled. Everyone in the council had heard of the Omen. Rumors. Scattered testimonies from the edge of collapsed civilizations. Whispers that Earth, peaceful, democratic, slow to anger, had built a weapon not for conquest, but for ending wars permanently. The Omen wasn't a myth. It was a policy, a promise from a species tired of begging for peace. A second ripple hit space, and the Dentar spun into a localized gravity well, crumpling like paper into its own mass. No explosion. Just total collapse. Admiral! The comm officer screamed. We're being boarded. By what? We don't know. No life signs. No pressure breaches. They're just inside. The bridge lights dimmed. Static buzzed across every console. One by one, systems went offline, not destroyed, but commandeered. Doors refused to open. Weapon control vanished. Engines fell silent. And then, with an almost mocking gentleness, the lighting changed. Soft white. Cool blue. The color scheme of human ships. From the corner of the bridge, something stepped forward. It wasn't visible. Not fully. Just the vague impression of a bipedal form, rippling in and out of phase with reality. Where its feet touched, the floor glowed slightly. Kashur drew his sidearm and fired. The plasma bolt stopped midair, hovering for a moment before unraveling into harmless particles. The shape spoke. You have violated Earth's final line. The diplomatic vessel you destroyed carried 3 ambassadors, 2 xenoanthropologists, and a Terran child. None survived. Kashur hesitated. He hadn't known about the child. It didn't matter now. The being continued. Your fleet has been neutralized. The rest of your armada will be dismantled before the hour ends. Your homeworld will remain untouched. But Earth has one rule: if you spill our peace, you drink our war. Kashur dropped the weapon. His legs folded beneath him, and for the first time in his command career, he bowed his head not in shame, but in fear. Around him, the other officers followed suit. There was no battle left. No plan. Only surrender. And then the phase-shifting human envoy turned away, its voice a final echo in the Admiral's ears. You've made first contact, Admiral. Welcome to the consequence. The Omen blinked out of space. Not jumped. Not fled. Simply ceased to exist in known dimensions. Behind it, nothing moved. No ships. No sounds. The Ural fleet was silent. Across dozens of Ural-controlled systems, Silent shutdowns echoed as human override codes activated sleeper viruses that had been seeded years ago, during the brief peace years. The entire military infrastructure of a galactic empire turned off like a switch. And Earth? Earth didn't respond with further messages or celebrations. There were no threats, no declarations of victory. Just silence. The kind of silence that comes when a predator returns to watching. And everyone in the galaxy, from smugglers to kings, got the same message in their inbox. Humanity mourns peace. And answers with precision. The signal crackled. Static bled across the bridge's speakers. Then a voice, rough, tinged with the unmistakable casual arrogance of a human, cut through the noise. This is the Earth's Strategic Recon Response Ship Horizon Breaker. You're in violation of Article 12 of the Terran Colonial Boundary Accords. Identify yourself, drop your weapons, and prepare for boarding. Boarding? Prel's claws trembled against the railing. Boarding was an act of war. An impossibility against a fully armed Zarka fleet. This had to be bluff. No warship, not even one bearing Terran markings, could pierce an active Zarkan perimeter grid and simply demand submission. But this wasn't just any ship. They had seen it. The Horizon Breaker was still there, at the edge of their formation, unmoving. Not cloaked, just unreadable. Every time a sensor tried to lock, it either bounced or returned gibberish. High Warlord Senna's furious voice barked over the command net. Drown that signal! Lock weapons! Fire everything! The bridge of the flagship erupted into a frenzy of movement. Missiles armed, plasma rails heated, particle beams charged to full. 12 capital warships, dozens of support destroyers, 3 supply barges, all locked onto a single target. Weapons fired. But the Horizon Breaker vanished. Not cloaked. Not vaporized. Just gone. Before Prel could speak, the alarm screamed. Explosions rocked the flanks of the third cruiser. Then the fifth. The entire left wing of the Zarkan formation went dark. Not possible. They're inside our perimeter! A technician shrieked. Multiple signatures. No, single. No, what am I looking at? Then came the screaming. Not from their own crews, but from enemy ships. Human ships didn't use sound in space. But this one did. On every channel, every frequency, every neural link or translation codec, they all blared with a rising, metallic wail. It wasn't words. It was fear incarnate, compressed into sound. Shut it off! Shut it! A comms officer collapsed, blood streaming from their nose. Others ripped their earpieces off. A few went catatonic, locked in their chairs, twitching. Prel turned to the view screen, and froze. There it was again. The Horizon Breaker. Closer now. Somehow, behind them. A blur of matte black metal. Edges shifting. Geometry bending subtly. As though it couldn't decide whether to remain real or not. Another Zarkan destroyer ignited, split into 5 perfect pieces. Not exploded, just disassembled, like a toy. No weapons fired, an analyst whispered. There's no muzzle flash, no energy trail. The hull just separated. Teleportation? Someone gasped. No. Something else. Space-time compression. Gravity manipulation, nonlinear kinetic disruption. The words didn't matter. It was killing them with movement. Sen roared. We are warriors! Charge! Full thrust! Surround and crush them! Prel could barely breathe. The Horizon Breaker still hadn't fired a traditional shot. It was dancing. Phasing. Dipping between space. It left ghost trails, afterimages that flickered like bad memories. And now 3 more Terran warships decloaked. No, materialized. Not from a wormhole. Not from any gate. Just appeared. Each was unique. One was shaped like a blade with rotating edges. Another like a crescent with fire spilling from its seams. The last was wrong. Its presence made Prel's eyes water. They all bore the same mark, the sigil of the Soul Vanguard. The Zarkan fleet began to break formation. Captains shouted conflicting orders. Fighters launched in disarray. The humans weren't jamming signals, but somehow, their presence corrupted cohesion. Logic broke down. A voice echoed again across every ship, calm, direct, human. You killed one of ours. A pause. The kind that made time itself feel heavy. There won't be a second. A warship on the far end of the Zarkan line folded inward. Imploded. No explosion, just silence and an absence where once there was matter. The humans weren't just fighting. They were rewriting the rules. Prel turned to Tsen, who was frozen, mandibles wide, eyes locked on the screen. The warlord whispered, "They're not ships. They're warnings." And then the message stopped being metaphor. Across the flagship's main view screen, a simple projection appeared, burned directly into the interface. It read, "We do not begin wars. We finish them." The message began to melt the interface, digitally. Letters bleeding into the system. Subroutines breaking down. Firewalls collapsed. That was it. Prel turned, reached for the override, and did the unthinkable. He broadcasted surrender. Across all Zarkan frequencies. "I am Strategist Prel. On behalf of the remnants of this fleet, we acknowledge breach of Terran space and the murder of their envoy. We surrender. Please. No more." Silence. A pause. Then one of the Terran warships, not the Horizon Breaker, flashed its running lights in a slow, calculated pattern. Binary. Accepted. The Zarkan ships powered down weapons. One by one. Engines cooled. Shields dropped. The burning cruisers drifted. All they could do was wait. The Terran ships didn't fire again. They just watched. For 8 hours. Hovering. Orbiting. Until, without warning, each vanished. Not jumped, just unfolded back into non-existence. Gone. Leaving behind wreckage, silence, and fear. 3 cycles later, deep within the United Galactic Assembly chambers, silence reigned. The humans had not asked for reparations. They had not sent further diplomats. They didn't even request a seat on the council. They just sent a single package. A casket. Containing the charred remains of Ambassador Rain, draped in the Terran banner. And a data drive. Inside, a message. The projection played only once. Ambassador Rain's last moments, captured via her implant, played for all species to see. Her calm words. The Zarkan accusations. The laugh before she was executed. And finally, her final transmission. "If this message is playing, then I didn't make it home. I'm sorry. I really wanted peace. But if they chose war, I trust Earth to finish what I started." The video cut. The next image was footage from the Horizon Breaker, combat logs. But only 3 seconds. Just enough to see an entire Zarkan vessel dissolve from a grazing pass. The council chamber fell into chaos. Ambassadors screamed. Some fled. Others demanded Earth be barred from all contact. But no votes were passed. Because no one wanted to be next. Back on Earth, General Asha Keller stood silently at the edge of the Pacific Aerospace Command's war room. She looked at the stars on the holographic map. The Horizon Breaker was already back in dry dock. Its AI had refused interviews. As always, no humans died in the engagement. No one on Earth celebrated. Rain was buried in Arlington beneath cherry blossoms. A single phrase carved on her tombstone. She spoke softly. "We carried the thunder." Asha turned to her aide. "Do we think they got the message?" The aide hesitated, then nodded. "Their entire fleet stood down within an hour. Multiple species petitioned to make Earth's neutrality official law. They're terrified of us now." Asha didn't smile. "That's the part one hate most," she said quietly. "They didn't learn peace. They learned fear." She reached for the next folder. Another incident, another contact zone brewing. "Prepare the fleet," she muttered. "But pray we never need them." The aide asked. "What should I mark the operation under?" She paused. Then said, "Call it echoes of contact. Let them echo forever." And as the stars spun silently above Earth, the galaxy learned one truth. You may not respect humanity. You may not understand them. You may not even see them coming. But if you draw blood, you will never forget what follows. Subscribe for more human stories that shake the galaxy to its core.